think it'll be a short message. It's a parables come in they're in threes, and it's really the same message for the most part. Each parable kind of develops a little bit that the previous parable did. And so we'll look at Matthew 25. Rev blessed us tremendously as he framed it as be prepared or be surprised. Yeah. So Matthew 25, 14 through 30. Says, for it, referring back to the kingdom of heaven, is just like a man about to go on a journey, who called his own slaves and entrusted his possessions to them. And to the one he gave 5 talents. Again, we're in Matthew 25, starting at verse 14. And to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another one he, each according to his own ability, went on his journey. Immediately, the one who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them, gave 5 more talents, and gained 5 more talents. Same manner, the one who had received 2 talents gained 2 more. The 1 talent went away and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now, after a long time, the master of those slaves came to settle accounts with them. One who had received the 5 talents came up and brought 5 more talents. Said, Master, you entrusted 5 talents to me. See, I've gained 5 more talents. His master said to him, well done, good and faithful slave. You were faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. One also who had received 2 talents came up and said, Master, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, gained 2 more talents. The master said to him, well done, good and faithful slave. You are faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of the master. And the one who had received the 1 talent came up and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. I was afraid. I went away and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. But his master answered and said to him, you wicked, lazy slave. You knew that I reaped where I did not sow and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have put my money in the bank, and on my arrival would have received my money back with interest. Therefore, take away the talent from him. Give it to the one who has the 10 talents. For everyone who has shall more be given, and he shall have an abundance. But the one who does not have, even what he does have, shall be taken away. And cast out the worthless slave to the outer darkness. In that place there shall be no weeping. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Amen. So I want to frame it this way. The mark of a true Christian being about the master's business. The mark of a true Christian being about the master's business. This parable is an analogy to the kingdom of God and not an allegory. I've talked on this before, but I'll just give a little bit of review. Sometimes if we're not careful, we tend to treat parables as allegory. And by that, we're looking for every detail. We're looking for some spiritual meaning behind every detail. And that, of course, brings challenges because that's not, first of all, that's not the way parables are intended. They usually have 1 or 2 messages at the most. And so one of the things, in fact, as you look at this parable, there's some overlap, in certain areas with the kingdom and Christ and stuff like that. But then there's other parts that don't really fit. And that's just a reminder not to try to take every detail of it and say, okay, what's the spiritual meaning behind it? For example, and in the previous parable, it's very clear that the Lord is the bridegroom, right? And the one that, with about the 10 women,
Yeah.
is clear, right? By application. And, there's definitely probably for sure some comparison with the master here in Jesus, but you have to be careful of trying to make that stick too much, because there's some stuff that's said about the master that just doesn't really fit. And so it's just important just to kind of think about what's the message, what's the main message. For example, what does he say about the he says I was afraid and went away and hid your talent in the ground. Hold on, I'm sorry. Verse 24. The one who also received the one talent came up and said, I knew you were a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you have scattered no seed. That is a practice, probably culturally, phrasing that's culturally intended to kind of speak of kind of unjust business practices, or a man that's kind of exploiting, right? He's reaping where he didn't sow, that kind of thing. And particularly in the fact that it's described first as being a hard man. So that's some of the stuff that just, you just have to be mindful, be careful about trying to make every detail have some type of spiritual meaning. But there is some element about the master, the main message about what the master is trying to get out of his servants and slaves that's relevant. And so we're going to look at that. So first of all, just want to remind us, we can fall into some major interpretive issues when we try to spiritualize every aspect of a parable. So that's the first thing. But as an analogy, there is the major message is this: just as a businessman expects and rejoices when his employees give him or give her return on their investments, the Lord expects his servants to give him a return on his investments, on what he's invested in us and entrusted in us. In a nutshell, the Lord expects his servants to be busy at work doing his business when he comes back, and he expects a return on his business. That is the message. That is the big takeaway. We're going to look at that in some more detail and look at some application for that. But that's the message. He expects his employees to be busy at work, being about the master's business. And I tagged this way. I said, in really ways, this is the mark. The parable is trying to communicate that this is the mark of a true Christian. Yeah. Is that we are about his business. Now that encompasses a lot of things, but at the foundation of that, it is a person who is trying to be about the will of God. And we know it's a good analogy for the Christian, because what happens to the wicked servant? Wicked servant is what?
Out of darkness.
Yeah, cast out into the heart of darkness, right? So there's a all of these have some things in common. The next one is going to be the goat versus the sheep, the foolish versus the wise virgins in the first one, and then the faithful versus the wicked servants. And so the language then speaks of, here's characteristics, here's characteristics that, or here are actions that characterize unbelievers. Unbelievers, like this wicked servant, is not about the master's business. Now watch this. He might have had whatever motivations, whatever reasons or excuses he had. The master didn't take it to be valid, did he? Oh. Yeah. And so we can say, oh Lord, I was this, I knew that, and all that kind of stuff. But when it's all said and done, you wasn't about my business. And so that this is at the foundation of it. there are some important themes that are consistent with all three parables, probably more than that I have here, but definitely some ones I want to point out. And then we'll circle back and look specifically at the second parable, which is the one we're looking at now. And just briefly. So in all of the parables, one of the themes is that there's a physical separation between two parties, which comes with a set of expectations for which one of the parties is accountable. Mm-hmm. There's a physical separation between two parties. One of those parties has been giving some expectations is placed upon them, and they are accountable for those expectations. So in the first one, the parable of the 10 brides, verse 3, what is the expectation in verse 3? I won't have to deal with much. I'm just going to, since Rev has already dealt with that, I just want to point a couple things out. In verse 3, chapter 5, what's the expectation? You had to be ready, and be ready with what?
That they would have oil in their lamps.
Yeah, that they'll have oil in their lamps, right? And so, and that speaks of their preparation. And so, that's the expectation. There is a separation between two parties. The bridegroom and his bride and his are separated. In Jewish culture, that could be that, as Jesus says, he's preparing a home for his bride, saying that he comes back and to get them. And but in that separation, there are some expectations placed on them. And here it is that they'll be ready with oil in their lamps. In the second parable, which one we're dealing with today, there is also a physical separation between two parties, the master and his servants. He goes on a long business trip, journey, and he's in fact it says what verse is that? He says he went about on a journey, and now verse 19, after a long time, he'd been gone for a while. He'd been gone for a long time. And so there's this separation, but when he came back, before he left, there were expectations placed on his servants, for which they were going to be accountable for when he showed up. Third one is not as clear, but it's still there. It's with the sheep, the shepherd is reunited with his sheep. In verse 25, 32, it says, and the nations will be gathered. The nations will be gathered. And so this is a separation. There's a separation period, and then they're gathered. And so, and then they're called to account. So, in all of them, there's a physical separation, and that's placed in the interim of the between a separation and a reunion. Number two, there's an irony in all of these. Rev brilliantly classified the first one. Be prepared or be surprised, right? And so the irony doesn't have to come in the form of surprise, but surprise is one of the forms of the irony. Irony, remember, is the when you have the an opposite result of what was expected. So that they were surprised in verse 10. And there's a couple of ironies in the first one. In verse 6 and verse 10, at midnight there was a shout. So that was the first one, right? The bridegroom, he back, he coming. Right? But verse 10, there's another one. As they're going away to make the purchase, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in and with them to a wedding feast, and the door was shut. And so they thought they can, at the last minute, go get some stuff. And that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. They thought they had enough time to make last minute provisions, but time was up. Yeah. So in this one, which we'll read, the tenant workers in verses 25 to 26 is the irony comes with the wicked servant. So if you all can pick it up on verses 25 and 26, what's the irony in verses 25 and 26? He says, and I was afraid and went away and hid your talent in the ground. See?
Right.
Now what is yours?
Yeah. The wicked slave thought it would be enough. He thought he was doing the right thing.
Yeah, he thought watch this. The irony is he was doing what he thought would please his master.
Right.
He says, listen, I got what's yours. And he says, he said, you wicked and lazy slave. You talking about words that you wouldn't expect him to hear.
Right.
Wait a minute now.
That's the big surprise.
Yeah, you wicked and lazy slave. Wait a minute.
Right.
Right? Wait, okay, okay, maybe I didn't do, but wicked and lazy.
Right.
Then the last one is this. So you have this physical separation where there's expectations and accountability based on what expectations. Then there's a component of irony, and then finally the reunion, which signifies a judgment day of sorts, where there are rewards and punishments dealt out. Verses 11 and 12, the brides are able to enter in, while the foolish brides are shut out. 28 and 30, he says, cast them into the outer darkness, for his punishment. Reward, one of the reward, watch this, that which was taken from the wicked servant was then given to the one with the 10, and this principle was tagged on it. He says that, what verse is that? He says that which is that who don't have everyone, verse 29, yeah. But to everyone who everyone who has shall more be given. He shall have in an abundance, but from the one who does not have, even what he does have shall be taken away. And he said, well, how can if he didn't have, how can you take it away? Well, it's using have to refer to two different things. For the one who does not have, in this case, what the master wants, spiritually speaking, the stewardships that he's been given and will be taken away. So, and so you got these three principles, and I want to return back to the second one. These are one of the major things. So as we think about, when we look at these three things, they are relevant for the lesson. A mark of a true Christian being about the master's business. We have been left here for a reason. There has been a physical separation between Christ being here on earth and going back to the Father, and then one day returning. When he left the church with expectations. The interesting thing, just as kind of Rev talked about, among the assembly, there are those who are not authentically members. Everybody understand that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you have Christians, and then you have those who we think are Christians. And if there's ever a thing that should characterize a Christian, is being about the master's business.
Yeah.
Right.
It's about, let me ask y'all that. How would you characterize, how would you define, or describe what it means to be about the master's business? And there's probably multiple answers to this. But what does it mean to be about the master's business? Kingdom building. Saul says kingdom building. Yes.
Paying your tithes.
Okay. Yeah. That might be limited to think a little bit more general, Sister Young. Now you're right. That is kind of part of it. Like we know, for sure. But let me ask you this: can you pay tithes and not be a Christian?
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to think about a little bit more general. You're right, but I want you to think a little bit more general, in more general terms.
Discipling your kids and grandkids.
Okay, discipling kids, grandkids, discipling people, discipleship,
Right.
discipleship in general, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love, justice, and do mercy.
Love, justice, and do mercy. Watch this. All that y'all mentioned is right. And the master's to be about the master's business is to have a mindset to do his will on earth. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Right? It's when you say what is it that makes you a Christian? Like what? Yes, I'm saved by grace through faith, but what characterizes Christians? What are some elements about our Christianity? At the nutshell, is that we are followers of Christ.
Yeah,
that's what it means to be a Christian. And that concept, that principle affects how we live, how we talk, how we address people, how we think. We are followers of Christ. That is what it is to be about the master's business. We are accomplishing his will. We live according to his word. That all of that is in a general sense, which can then, show itself in some of the specific things that you all mentioned.
Amen.
The thing is this, it's interesting to me how people identify themselves as Christian, but they are not really concerned about Christianity. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's people. Oh yeah, I'm a Christian. There's nothing in your life that speaks to the fact that your life, not just an action or because everybody pray, every once in a while. Everybody go to church every once in a while. We're not talking about what happens every once in a while, but that your life, that there's nothing about your life, no consistent patterns about your life that people can say and look and say they are about the master's business. They are about Christian. Interestingly, people whose lives that they try to pattern their lives after Christ are people, sometimes other people who say they're Christians either look down as weird or, it don't take all that. Y'all gotta, those are the people, oftentimes the people, kind of think that there's something wrong or problematic with them. But that's what it is. It's about, being about the master's business. Yes, that includes discipleship. That includes soul winning. That includes supporting the Lord's work and studying the Word of God. Now, let me ask y'all something. In what context are you most likely to do all of those things that we've mentioned and more? In what context?
In the church.
Absolutely, in the church. Because in the community, in the church community, that's where you're most likely to do outreach and do evangelism and to be praying and doing the things that the Word of God is telling us to do. When you are connected to the community, that's what kind of helps us to characterize our life. It's something, people kind of think this kind of idea that I'm a Christian with no concern for the things of God, no concern for the people of God, no concern, no desire to be connected, no element of where you're submitting to the life of the community or nothing. Is something wrong with that?
Yeah.
It's analogous to the servant that has been given something and they said, well, I just kind of sit on it. Whatever. I'm gonna go about do my thing, because this either you about the master's business or you doing your business.
That's right. That's right.
There's no in between, and this is why he's called a wicked and lazy servant, because in regards to what he was accountable to, he has nothing to show for. And so it is this picture. Then he says the kingdom, as he's talking to his disciples, the kingdom is like a businessman who went on a trip and gave some talent, and the talents is this is an insurmountable amount of money. One talent is approximately 20 years work, 20 years of work, and you got, so that's, first of all, that's a very generous. It just shows you the type of what's the word I want to say, the heaviness or the amount of business that the master has.
Mm-hmm.
They want one talent, one 5 talents, 1 10, and it says according to their ability.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so probably just for the sake of the logic of the parable is not even that we all it's not that even like when he's thinking about the master's business and faithfulness to the master's business, that everybody has to have the same, like numerically, the same amount to give to the master. No, he says to give according to the ability, right? That's how oftentimes stewardships, to whom much is given, much is required. And so, there might be gifts and opportunities and things that Pastor Laws has been given that I then have to give a bigger account, right? As a pastor, as a teacher, as whatever. So that doesn't mean that your fruit, so to speak, that your stewardships has to look exactly like mine. But whatever you've been given, he is requiring and he's expecting you to be faithful over that.
Yes, yes, yes.
If I've been given a church, or if I've been given stewardship over scholarship and relationships, certain people, because of their popularity and their fame or whatever, will have a lot more relationships and a lot more people that they are influencing. It may not, people want the mega church, mega industries and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is that means they've been given more stewardship over people and relationships.
Yeah.
You got 10,000, 20,000 people, and then you got online ministries and all that kind of stuff. You're accountable for those relationships. And so it says, and so he goes away, and then he comes back. Watch this, to settle his accounts. And so this is the thing. And at the foundation of this, then he comes back. 2 of the servants of the slaves are eager to show the master what they have accomplished with that. Mm-hmm. See, I think that is a sign of readiness. It's sometimes kind of people say, "Oh, like, are you ready?" Well, I ain't ready, that kind of stuff like that. And I think because we oftentimes are thinking, I think it's possible, oftentimes because we have Left Behind series and this stuff and the kind of, which I don't think is necessarily accurate, but we got to kind of have these Left Behind series theology in our minds that almost kind of paints kind of that the masses, reading about the masses business is almost in a kind of very kind of legalistic way. And so you know, in our minds, oh man, I'll be caught in some sin, so that, that's going to affect affect where I go and affect my, that kind of stuff. I mean, shoot, at any given time, we sin so much. It could be, it ain't gonna be, it ain't be too many, seconds or whatever that you're gonna be caught without sin, caught or something. So it's about, but the thing is this: the servant is in the mindset of doing the master's will,
Right.
accomplishing, and yeah, no, we're not going. No, we even in our faithfulness, quote unquote, we're gonna still have to give an account for stuff that we have messed up. But I didn't mind money. You can come to me, come today, come tomorrow. I'm ready. Why? Because I know not that I've been perfect and not that I've been sinless. I know that I'm serious about the Father's business.
Yes.
I'm serious about it. Yeah. Yes. No, I'm not. It's not a perfect account. But I'm serious. My life, I want to live my life. I am intentional about trying to live my life as a husband, as a father, as a pastor, as a worker, as a Christian.
Right.
I'm about my Father's business. And so, as those who are about his business, there's a certain eagerness to show their master what they have accomplished in his act.
Right.
All right.
Lord, yeah, Lord, here are the fruits of my labor, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Lord, and this is why it is a grave deception to think that you're gonna be, that you think that you can be anywhere close to that type of mindset without the church community. It's the church community that allows me and affords me the opportunities and shapes my mind and shapes my thinking and puts fire up under my feet to be about the Father's business. Listen, if left on my own, if left to ourselves, I'm talking about apart from the church community, we probably wouldn't evangelize as much as we do.
Yes.
Right? Most of the time, we're coming across sin. It's when we come back into the church community and then we hear sermons or we go out for evangelism or we go, then those are the times that we can say, all right, how's about the Lord's business?
Yeah.
Apart from the church, many folks probably wouldn't have intentional prayer meetings other than when they are in quote unquote in great desperation. Yeah, but through the church that challenges me and charges me, and then I want to say, you know what, man, I need to intercede for people. I wouldn't if I wasn't connected to the church, probably many of us probably wouldn't be giving no tithes. I'd take that and go gambling somewhere.
That's why the TV evangelists got a ban so much because you in a church community of one at your house, so they have to keep telling you to give,
Yeah.
otherwise you wouldn't do it.
Yeah, it's the community. Watch this, that helps us be accountable to the master's will.
Yeah.
And so there's some expectations. And here's the thing. He wants a prophet.
Yeah.
One of the signs, because watch this. He gave according to their ability. He didn't give them, he gave them, gave some 5, gave some, 2, gave some 1, or whatever. But he has not given us anything that is outside of our ability to accomplish. And so he wants a prophet. The question is, what type of prophet is he looking for? What is the prophet that he's looking for? And again, he wants a return. He wants a return on, you just think about all the stewardship that you've been given. That's what, and if we're serious about our Christianity, then we're serious about our stewardships, our relationships. Those are some of the stewardships. As Rev mentioned, discipling children and grandchildren. These are, now watch this. In discipleship and in evangelism and all that stuff like that, it's not always about the results as much as it is about what were the works that you accomplished. What do I mean by that? Can you evangelize to somebody and they don't accept Jesus? Absolutely. So it's not about, Lord, look at all the souls I saved, so to speak, as much as, Lord, look how I have witnessed. Look how I've evangelized. Look how I've worshipped. Look how I've studied your word. Look how I've tried to implement your word. Right? Look how, like, it's, it's not about necessarily quantity as much as quality. And that quality comes from your perspective of the master. Number one, I am whom I'm accountable to, one who's coming back. The Lord is coming back, and we will have to give an account to some characteristics that distinguish the two groups. Verse 23, I'm finished. Verse 23 says, his master said to him, well done, good and faithful slave. You were faithful over a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. Good and faithful. Good and faithful. There are passages that says there's none good. Paul says that there's none good. Jesus says, only God is good, that kind of thing. So why is he saying well done? What does he mean by good here? Well, good, sometimes the word is used to good fruit. A good tree bears good fruit. A bad tree bears bad fruit. In Matthew 13, he talks about good fish. A fisherman who catches good fish and throws away the bad fish. Good in those contexts means useful. It means that you were useful. And what makes them useful? Because they are serious at being about the master's business. Not that I was perfect, but I was useful. That's the question. Listen, how you gonna be useful if he can't even use you? You ain't even available. How you gonna be useful if you ain't even available? Listen, I'm useful. He uses me. I'm useful. Why? Because I'm in his hands. I'm useful because I'm available. I'm useful because I'm about his business. I showed up. Listen, perhaps you can say you can do it better than I could. But at least I showed up though. Yeah, right. I showed up. And so there's some times that he had to use kind of a mess. But I was there. I was counted among the number. Yeah, something true. There's some folks I went and tried to evangelize. I done messed it up.
Yeah.
I didn't. I wasn't ready as much as I should have been. I tried to talk to them and I lost my cool and they got to snapping on me. I snapped back at them. Right? But I showed up is what I'm saying. I was useful. Yeah. And to try to listen, I mean, he can't even use some people because they ain't even trying to be about his business. trying to use you to witness and to disciple and to show others what a Christian family looks like, what a Christian marriage. Lord have mercy. I know I definitely can't say that my marriage is being everything it's supposed to be, but Lord, I showed up. And I'm still showing up. Showing up every day. We're showing up. Showing up. What does it mean to show up? Showing up. We're trying to characterize my marriage as what the master would have it to be. How to form it and shape it. Being repentant when I fall short and pressing on to the mark of the higher calling of which I've been called. I've showed up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's useful, and that's part of the faithfulness. But then others, why, as a result, in contrast, he says, "You wicked, lazy slave." What does laziness mean? What is lazy?
My version says slothful, Pastor. My version says
Slothful, yeah.
Not useful.
Yeah, you ain't done nothing. Like, see, watch this. One is working, the other ain't doing no work. Yeah, he says, and his reason, he says, I was scared. He says, what do you say? Verse, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. And I was afraid. So I went away and hid your talent in the ground. You see, I have what is yours. Listen. The thing is this. He says, okay, but if you knew that about me, then you could at least, listen, financial institutions are as old as dirt. That he says, listen, if nothing else, you could at least put it in the bank and put it into an interest-bearing account. Even if it's a savings account with 1%, it's something more. Listen, and that's the thing. And there are folks who claim to be saved, and you ain't no farther along than when you first got saved. He wants a product. He wants a return. And that's the fact that there's no return is proof that you're never really about his business. Listen, what the two had, his return wasn't as much as in regards to numerically as the 5, although percentage-wise they both double.
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't get. Listen, a talent is a lot of money. That's 20 years. So you ain't even have to. He says, listen, even if you put it on an interest-bearing account, yeah, you ain't gonna get no 20. He's not gonna double being in an interest-bearing account. But you could have gave me something. Yeah. If a talent is, that's just for the sake of whatever, $500,000. Can I at least 500,050? There's nothing. You don't got, and listen, and the truth of the matter is, that's the truth for a lot of folks. And oftentimes these are people who have they're marginally Christian, so to speak. You don't, listen, your life, there's nothing about your relationship with Christ that's affecting no area of your life. It don't affect how you talk to people. It don't affect what your passions are, what your ambitions and goals are. All your goals is just to stack your paper. That's it. Make this money. Get you a husband, a wife, or something. Just like what I'm saying is, for some people who say themselves to be Christians, their goals and passions and desires in life is no different from any other person who just wants to kind of have a good life. That ain't a Christian. Raise a good family, have some money for retirement, have my needs met, just kind of have a comfortable life. Like that's it. And you can have, what I'm saying is you can be about quote unquote good things, but not be about the master's business. That was the surprise. That was the irony. Watch this. What the servant did, there was nothing that he did that was intrinsically evil. He just hit it, put it in the ground. Yeah. That's all he did. Mm-hmm. Right? And so it's not about, and that's the irony of it, is that he's called wicked when he didn't do, so to speak, like, as far as just the regular norm, anything wicked. He ain't out here killing babies. He ain't out here, being the most racist person. He ain't, it is said nothing about, no, watch this. Notice a lot of stuff that it doesn't, that he is not characterized as. Like, it ain't that he had all these marital affairs, right? This is the stuff that we would see, so that characterized as being wicked. That would be stuff that would merit us being thrown into the outer darkness. But that's not this person. He's not an atheist. He's not, having multiple affairs. He's not, slaughtering babies or molesting kids. Like, right. He's not, like, this is all that immoral stuff that we have in mind. He's just living a life that ain't about the master's business.
Mm-hmm. About the master's business. Wow.
And that's the thing. You have a lot of people who, quote unquote, live good moral lives. They're educated and all of this kind of stuff. But there's nothing about Christ that motivates anything in their life. To be about the master's business is to be motivated by the master. In my marriage is motivated by the master. The way I address and deal with people, even people that I don't like, is motivated by my relationship with God. It's my Jesus that makes me generous in my giving. It's what he's done for me that makes me want to forgive people. It's what he's done for me that pushes me to fight for justice and to do mercy. Is that the foundation of who he is to me and how I relate to him that motivates my character on the job. That's why I work hard, not just to quote unquote stack my paper. It ought to be that I'm working hard because the master has given me a stewardship of this, and I'm a Christian. That ought to come up at some point. I remember, I had when I was working for LG, the phone company, the packaging company. I had all kind of little scenarios, and there was one time they just used, most of them was interesting, younger than me, and all that kind of stuff. But I remember one time I was I told you I had a hard time at the LG packaging place. And I wouldn't, when I first got there, I was throwing the stuff away and breaking stuff and, throwing phones away because it was just, the assembly line was too fast. This time I wasn't messing up anything, but I was slow. I was slower than with everybody else. And, I remember when the supervisor came and, told me, man, hurry up, MFer, call me an MFer and all that kind of stuff. And I said, hey, wait a minute. And I walked away from this. I didn't even cut it off or anything. It was just, stuff was going past me. I wouldn't think nothing about those phones at that moment. I said, come on, let me talk to you for a minute. And I said, listen. And I was intentional about, I said, listen, I said, I'm a Christian. I says, because I'm a Christian, because I'm a Christian, I'm going to respect your authority over me as, at this job. I says, also because I'm a Christian, I'm going to try my best. I promise you, this is the words I said to him. As a Christian, I'm going to try to do my best to give a quality product. I says, but listen, all that cussing, We all that cussing at me. I said, we ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna do that. That's ours, right? And so, but my point is, I didn't let him know. Listen, I'm motivated. Listen, your cussing ain't gonna motivate me. My master in being one to be accountable to him, that motivates me. And so, even on our jobs, everywhere, it's that. What's his word, his will motivates us. But listen, if you don't know, how you gonna be motivated by his will, his character, when you don't know it?
Right.
You're not available to be shaped by him. And so yep.
I'm a Christian. That's why you still standing and got your teeth.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. Absolutely. And I think he got that message.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I said, listen. So it's our, and that's the thing. It's like he shapes us, he motivates us, he's our reason. That's what it is about the master's business, and he's gonna come back. And you listen, you don't want to be called lazy by the Lord. Because he's able to see what other people don't see, right? Some people will think that we don't have work and that we're not doing stuff, but he can see what they don't see. And he will count that. But if he call you lazy,
Lord have mercy.
You might as well catch it up. You might as well hang it up. All right, that's our lesson.
Amen.
Excellent.
Amen.